This presentation covers the life of Christopher Columbus, who lived from 1451 to 1506, and Columbus's letter describing his first voyage, and the Diario of Christopher Columbus's first voyage to America. Who is Christopher Columbus? Christopher Columbus was an Italian mapmaker and captain in the merchant service of Portugal before he gained sponsorship by King Ferdinand II and Isabella I of Spain, who sent him to find a water route to the Indies, or China, Japan, Indonesia, and the Malay Peninsula. Columbus discovered modern-day Haiti on his first of 4 voyages and renamed the island La Isla Española, or Hispaniola, in 1492. He was made governor and promised 10% of all riches he brought back to the king and queen. However, after mismanagement and enslaving the native people against the command of Isabella, Columbus's governorship was taken from him, and he was arrested and finally released, but died in poverty and obscurity at the age of 55. Did Columbus really discover America? Columbus is given credit for discovering America, but actually the Vikings had reached the mainland of North America as early as the 10th century. However, Columbus's depiction of the Americas as an idyllic land of beauty, opportunity, and hope inspired the exploration of the Americas in earnest. What happened to Columbus? Columbus took a total of 4 transatlantic trips from Spain to the New World. He returned from his first voyage on the famous ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, reporting back that he had discovered what he thought was the Indies. He exaggerated the riches to be found there in order to gain sponsorship for additional voyages in hopes of finding a water route to the Indies, or to find gold and silver or other lucrative goods that could bring a better return on the investment of exploration. Although Queen Isabella forbade him from enslaving the natives, as the new governor of what is now Hispaniola, he did it so anyway, hoping to pay for his exploration. By the 4th voyage, he and his men had treated the natives with such brutality and exposed them to smallpox and other illnesses for which they had no immunity that their population decreased by over 85% by the early 1500s. Eventually, they rebelled against the Spaniards, and the settlements had deteriorated into chaos. Columbus ended up being imprisoned back in Spain, and then was let free to live out the rest of his life in obscurity and poverty. Columbus's letter describing his first voyage. This nonfiction letter was written to one of the officials on the royal court of Ferdinand and Isabella, and is the earliest report by Columbus of his first voyage to the New World. He first sailed to the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa to restock and prepare for the journey, and then to the Caribbean, where he landed on 4 islands, one of which is modern Hispaniola, or Haiti and the Dominican Republic, another of which is modern Cuba, and 2 other unknown islands. The purpose of Columbus's letter. In order to convince the king and queen that their sponsorship was worthwhile, Columbus portrays the islands he discovered as beautiful, bountiful, and full of goods that would benefit Spain. He exaggerates the amount of gold he finds and portrays the people as passive and agreeable, an excellent source of slaves. Here is an example of a quote depicting the promise of the land. This island and all of the others are very fertile to a limitless degree, and this island is extremely so. In it there are many harbors on the coast of the sea, beyond comparison with others which I know in Christendom, and many rivers, good and large, which is marvelous. Its lands are high, and there are in it many sierras and very lofty mountains. All are most beautiful, of 1,000 shapes, and all are accessible and filled with trees of 1,000 kinds, and tall, and they seem to touch the sky. And some of them were flowering, some bearing fruit. In it are marvelous pine groves, and there are very large tracts of cultivable lands, and there is honey, and there are birds of many kinds, and fruits in great diversity. In the interior are mines of metals, and the population is without number. Hispaniola is a marvel. Here is another example of a quote depicting the promise of natives as a source of slaves. They are convinced that I, with these ships and men, came from the heavens, and in this belief they everywhere received me, after they had overcome their fear. And this does not come because they are ignorant. On the contrary, they are of a very acute intelligence, and are men who navigate all those seas, so that it is amazing how good an account they give of everything. But it is because they had never seen people clothed or ships of such a kind. And as soon as I arrived in the Indies, in the first island which I found, I took by force some of them. This is the first instance of European enslavement of the Indians, in order that they might learn and give me information of that which there is in those parts. And so it was that they soon understood us, and we them, and they have been very serviceable. The Diario of Christopher Columbus's First Voyage to America. Christopher Columbus's diary does not survive. However, this portion of the first trip to the New World did survive and was transcribed in the 1530s. As with Columbus's letter describing his first voyage, his purpose is to document the details of what the Spanish people could gain from exploring and exploiting the lands they had claimed off the coast of the Americas in the name of the Spanish throne. The purpose of Columbus's diary. Columbus suggests in his diary that the Spanish could do the following with the people and land he discovered on his first journey. First, spread Christianity, thus saving their souls and fulfilling their Christian duty. An example from the diary showing this intent is the quote, "They should be good and intelligent servants, for I see that they say very quickly everything that is said to them, and I believe they would become Christians very easily, for it seemed to me that they had no religion." End quote. Secondly, the use of natives as slaves. An example from the diary showing this intent is, "Whenever your highness may command, all of them can be taken to Castile or held captive in this same island, because with 50 men all of them could be held in subjugation and can be made to do whatever one might wish." End quote. And lastly, claim as much land for Spain as possible. An example from the diary showing this intent is, quote, "Nevertheless, my intention was not to pass by any island of which I did not take possession, although if it is taken of one, it may be said that it was taken of all." End quote. In conclusion, because Columbus's 4 voyages were financed through the sponsorship by the King and Queen of Spain, he felt pressure to win economic gain for Spain, which undoubtedly led to the exploitation of the Native Americans who inhabited these Caribbean islands that Columbus and his fellow explorers discovered. However, it is debatable whether the violent abuses of these natives who were enslaved, killed, and used by the explorers were endorsed by the King and Queen. Regardless, the attractive depiction of these people and the land in the New World by Columbus through his letters and diary entries helped motivate future exploration, which ultimately led to the exploration and development of the American mainland in both South and North America. It is also interesting to note that until recent years in the United States, Columbus was held in high esteem and his discovery of the Americas was celebrated as a national holiday. This could be due to the revisions of history of how the Native Americans were treated and perhaps changes in North Americans' values towards colonization over time.